The following program is presented by the HTM Podcast Network.
It is Wednesday, July 17th, 2019, and you are tuned in to HTM Sports right here at hittingthemarks.com, the Hitting the Marks Podcast Network. My name is Jargo. I'll be your host for the day. That's my tag team partner. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the real RBV. Rick, welcome back to HTM Sports.
It's me. It's that R, the beat, and the Rick Vickery back again. Hashtag HTM Sports. Oh, Jargo, we are coming in hot. Just before going on the air, we're talking politics. I know we're both kind of, I guess our hands are up in the air. We're confused about all these meme crazes, this aging BS that we're seeing on social media. Thankfully, we get to take a step back here and talk a little sports.
Yeah, thank God for sports and just a little escape hatch from the crazy that is the everyday world. Huckleberry, before we jump into the run here, I actually had a listener sports question that was sent in to me by a gentleman by the name of Sirdan Darrow. And he hit me up and he says he wanted to know who would win in their prime, Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali. And I thought that this would actually be a interesting conversation to kind of kick off the show today. We've got a huge boxing fight coming up this weekend. It's going to be Manny Pacquiao taking on Thurman. I'm looking at Thurman to win that by points. I think it's going to go the distance. I don't think either guy is going to knock the other one out, but I do think Thurman's going to win. It'll be an amazing showing for Pacquiao. But this question really intrigues me, and it's been debated for years now. Who would win in a fight? Iron Mike Tyson or the greatest boxer that's ever lived, Muhammad Ali?
Wow, a very intriguing question there, Al. Thanks for giving me a heads up on that one. So you're just throwing me into the deep end with it. Yeah, you got to weigh this thing. And really, you have to look. This is each in their prime, correct?
Yeah, in their prime.
Each how dominant they were and how beloved and actually changed the sport in so many different ways there. And just in how the perception of boxing was held in each of their times. Where in Ali's, it was the ultimate sport. It was, the king of sports there. Where Tyson came in, was beginning to lose a little bit of that luster because of the promoters just downright raping this thing.
Yeah.
That's when we had all these different governing bodies. They're splitting titles. There was so much corruption that was coming to the surface. That's when it started to kind of lose its glitz and glamour there with Tyson. But that doesn't take anything away from how vicious he was. How just pure beast he was inside that ring. So this is going to come down really to power versus finesse. What do you say?
Yeah, I think so. It's crazy because one of the big legends of Mike Tyson that I think kind of gets lost is just how powerful he was. But the thing that made that power so vicious was the speed. I've seen just about every Muhammad Ali fight that I can find over the course of the years. And, Muhammad Ali was probably the greatest defensive boxer that I've ever seen, although Floyd Mayweather absolutely runs into that category as well. But people they seem to think that it would be Tyson's power versus Ali's speed. And I don't think that's the case. I think Tyson was just as fast, if not faster, than Muhammad Ali. I go Muhammad Ali and I go Ali over Strong simply because of the boxing IQ. If Tyson could get a hold of him in those first couple rounds, yeah, Tyson could absolutely put him down. But Tyson didn't have the stamina like Ali did. He was going out there and knocking people out in a round and a half, maybe 2 rounds. I remember his first fight coming out of prison went all of about 47 seconds. It's a matter of if Tyson could get to Ali, yeah, he could knock him out. But if this is going to be a straight up boxing match, I'm going with Ali over Strong.
Well, I was going to play into that speed as well because that's going to complement that power. And I think that's where big Mike Tyson's going to get that advantage. And as great as you go back and you can measure the competition against Ali, I don't think he'd ever seen anybody like Mike Tyson that's going to be coming at him that fast, that strong, and that's where you get that when I say power. It's not the strength, it's that impact that comes behind each one of those punches. I don't think Tyson, it would absolutely Ali would have to make this thing go to this. I think Tyson could get him early. What this really screams of? This is the big Russian versus Rocky.
Yeah, very much so.
And kind of the styles here.
You know, and it's funny because we talk about Thurman versus Pacquiao coming up this week. I was watching the promo packages, and most of the promo packages are just Thurman talking his ass off, and Manny Pacquiao just sitting there listening to it and taking it. And I was like, holy crap, this is like Mr. T versus Rocky and Rocky 3. Like that's the way all these promo packages lead.
I'll tell you who'd definitely be winning. I don't know what age this thing would be in, but you know that Don King would have his grubby, dirty hands all over this thing. He would be raking in the dough left and right from these individuals on a fight like this.
Don King be making some bank. I'm going to hold you down. Who are you taking? You taking Ali or you taking Tyson?
I'm going Iron Mike, baby.
Wow, we're different on this one too. So similar yet so different. Although I can tell you what, the promos would be absolutely entertaining. Huckleberry, we do have some modern day sports.
And Ali's a bigger of a scumbag trainer in this country than Tyson was.
That is true. We do have a lot of modern day sports to talk about, but I did want to get that in there for Sir Dan. I thought that was an interesting topic. Huckleberry, I guess let's start off with another guy that I would love to see box because he's built like an absolute brick shithouse, and that man's name is Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney and the Houston Texans failing to reach a long-term deal before 4 p.m. on Monday, the franchise tag deadline. And now things are going to get incredibly complicated down there in Houston. His franchise tag is $15.967 million. And the NFLPA and Jadeveon Clowney are pissed because the actual linebacker tag is $15.443. Clowney gets an extra $500,000 because he had $1 million signing bonus on that last contract. But here's the problem. They signed him to a franchise tag as a linebacker. He only took 33 snaps in 2019 as a linebacker. By comparison, he took 729 snaps as a defensive end. Oh yeah, and the defensive end tag is almost $2 million richer than that of a linebacker. Rick, this is fascinating because all the time, you know, we're talking about, is it the players or is it the owners? And, you know, the owners can trade players whenever they want, and yet we look down on players when they leave teams. This is so much bigger than that. This is literally a team screwing with a player's money. This is something we don't see very often. This thing's going to end up a war.
Well, and it's, as we're talking about here with Clowney, I mean, it's just not just any run-of-the-mill player. Obviously, you realize the importance if you're putting a franchise tag on him. But we're talking about one of the premier players in the league here. One of the leaders, the anchors of your franchise that is a blossoming franchise. You know, you guys have great things in your future. If you can keep this core intact here, especially on your defense, I mean, this is a straight, you know, this is a $5 face slap.
Yeah, this is a straight up $5 face slap. And Jadeveon Clowney's big enough, I don't think I want to face slap him.
This is a couple million face slap right here.
Well, and when people hear these numbers, they just sound absolutely ridiculous. Like, who cares if you're making $15 million a year or making $17 million a year, right? Well, let me tell you who cares about that, Jadeveon Clowney. The other thing that he cares about is the guy playing on the other side of the line from him, J.J. Watt, is signed to a 6-year, $100 million deal that he signed in 2016. The other guy who cares about this is Deshaun Watson, who's eligible for a contract extension at the end of this season. How much money are we really going to tie up in the defensive line if we're already paying J.J. Watt 6 years and $100 million? Now we got to pay Jadeveon Clowney. Oh yeah, we've got to pay our franchise quarterback too. Somebody's going to get screwed, and it sure as hell is looking like it's going to be Jadeveon Clowney.
Well, at that point with Clowney, you know, it's let me pack bags and I'll head out of Texas. And that's probably what we're going to get here at some point. You know, he might have to abide by this thing here.
Well, the question is, does it happen before this season starts? Because now it's sounding like Clowney's just threatening to pull a Le'Veon Bell and not even play next year.
At that point, I mean, if you're looking to, you know, to seriously play hardball here and you're seeing everyone else, these other big players, and you're right up there amongst them on your own team, they're getting their paydays and you're not. I mean, this is where you kind of you draw that line in the sand, and he's going to take a lot of heat as a player because, again, people, you know, just the general perception, he's already a multimillionaire. People need to remove that from it, as you said, Jarger. Take that out of the conversation. You know, if, you know, the run of the mill, if you're at your job and you're looking forward to a nice bonus, they're going to kick you up to $30 an hour But no, they retag your position, and you're going from 25 to 27. You're going to be absolutely damn furious about that $3 because that affects your life and your lifestyle and your family going forward. You have to remove that there. They're on a different level. I understand it, but fans have a hard time seeing that, and it's because fans admire the league so much because for them it's a great passion. So many say that they would gladly go out there and play for free. That's just idiotic. If there's so much money on the table there, that's why you have this conversation in college. Are these student athletes, if you're student athletes, are they getting robbed? All the billions that are being made by these universities off of these students, these guys just want their cut of the cake.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's kind of focus on Deshaun Watson here. Of course, the franchise quarterback for the Houston Texans. Rick, he's eligible for an extension after this season. We saw one guy already get extended this year, and that's Carson Wentz. We didn't even have a chance to talk about his contract a couple of weeks ago when he signed it. $128 million extension over the course of 4 years. Where do you kind of rank these guys? When you look at Carson Wentz, when you look at Deshaun Watson, which one would you rather have on your team, and which one do you think has a higher ceiling kind of looking forward 5 years from now?
Wow, good question. Let me say just overall, I think it gets really tricky when we're looking at these quarterbacks. And it seems, as long as you can find someone that can function within a system, I'm wondering if almost the trend is, because you see these top paid quarterbacks in each league, and where are the teams finishing? They're barely making playoffs at best, or they're missing out because the demand is so high that they cannot, they're eating up so much of the cap space. You cannot fulfill everything around them.
What was it last year? We had the number. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. It was either 6 or 8. The top 6 paid quarterbacks or the top 8 paid quarterbacks in the league missed the playoffs last year.
I think it was a 6. Because outside of that, I think it was 6. So, because you're overpaying in there, you can't fill in those gaps around them. I'm just kind of questioning is we're talking here, just looking at, for example, Watson and Wentz that are still so young in here, and before they get those big paydays, will we see these teams just start going to a formula where we're just going to go to rookie contracts on quarterbacks?
You almost got to wonder that, right? People talk about the Patriots all the time and how in the hell do the Patriots do what they do. It's because Tom Brady's not doing this. Tom Brady's not playing this game. Tom Brady's taking $15 to $17 million a year so that you can afford to pay a couple of wide receivers. Go ahead and pay my offensive line. Give us some help on the defensive side of the ball. As long as we're winning, I'm making more money. And for some reason, these younger quarterbacks can't seem to get their heads around that.
Well, it also helps that Tom Brady's not even the breadwinner in his household.
Absolutely. That certainly plays into it.
He could take those pay cuts for those others. They've got, just Sally down the street is their wife. They're trying to set up and protect their families. They want those big paydays. And you don't know how long you're going to have an opportunity to play in this league. It's a short shelf life. So you got to get paid when you can to set up your family and all that. Just to answer your question, though, I think I would go more with Wentz. I still think he's more durable into the game. I like the arm strength.
You say that, and Wentz hasn't played a healthy season yet. That's my thing, too. Talent level, I think Wentz, clearly, but Deshaun Watson can stay on the damn field. We had the whole
we haven't seen it that long, though. I'm really interested. I get that there, but I think when we're looking at big wins and you surround them in a right system here, that if what I'm building here, I'd rather have a stable quarterback there. And we don't really know what Watson's going to do here with his style. It's still so early to tell in his career.
Well, the other guy that I think we have to talk about, if we're talking about quarterbacks wanting their money, is in the NFC East, and his name is Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott.
We got big trouble in Texas right now.
Dak Prescott saw Carson Wentz get paid $128 million over 4 years. Dak Prescott wants his money. It's the final year of his rookie deal. And then Amari Cooper, his deal's up at the end of the year. And now Ezekiel Elliott, who still has 2 years left on his $24 million 4-year deal, is threatening to hold out if he doesn't get his money now.
We've got the same situations that we're seeing there with the Texans that's happening there in Big D with the Cowboys. And it was all this, seemingly success that they had last year. What was it? Their first playoff win in how many years? At least half a decade or so.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And, for them to go get that first big, to get that win there, The league is riding high on him. The media rides high on him just a little bit because of the market, who they are, because of the star. And now all of these guys, they know that there's only going to be so much to go around, and they want those paydays, especially with Dak. I mean, he's become that face of that franchise there. He wants to represent it. He wants his cut, and he wants to take care of that before, whatever unfolds this year. Same thing with Zeke. We talk about the life of a running back. I mean, it could be week 1, week 2, he's done. And he wouldn't have had this opportunity to make this money that he sees going to be potentially available for these other teammates and their big 3 on their offense.
Well, the last running back that we saw pull this and get an absolute monster contract was Todd Gurley. Where was Todd Gurley come the NFC Championship game last year? Where was Todd Gurley come the Super Bowl last year? He's sitting on the sidelines riding a bike.
And that's where you want to see these players that are making these commitments. They have had the success. You want to root for them. You want to see them achieve financial success here in the league. But you got to understand too. I mean, what's the ROI from these owners here? They continually, you look throughout the league and you're seeing other franchises get burned for these deals. I mean, but what's the pressure? I mean, I don't really believe at this point with Jones that he's going to overly buckle anywhere on here. If he feels that he needs to move on, he'll try to move on.
I think he's going to end up paying Dak, although I'm not sure that that's necessarily the right option. We talked a lot last year when we started this show, and we were, right in the heart of football season, and we started noticing this trend that when Ezekiel Elliott went for 100 yards, the Cowboys won. When Ezekiel Elliott didn't play or didn't go for 100 yards, Dak was awful. And he needs that escape hatch. The problem is, it's plug and play down there in Dallas. Everybody wants to talk about how great Ezekiel Elliott is, and I agree. I think he's one of the best running backs in the league. But I also thought DeMarco Murray was one of the best running backs in the league when he was playing in Dallas. It's not the running back, it's that offensive line. And if you start paying Amari Cooper, you start paying Ezekiel Elliott, you pay Dak Prescott, you know what's going to suffer? That offensive line. It's just not going to work. We kind of said jokingly about 6 months ago that Ezekiel Elliott was going to be a Raider as soon as they moved to Vegas because we knew they were going to have to pay Dak Prescott. Well, it seems like this move could even happen sooner than that because when I look at these guys, I would pay Zeke before I would pay Dak, but that's not what's going to happen. They'll just find another running back and plug into that system who doesn't have 1,800 carries over the course of his college and NFL career, who's still got his bump card basically full, and just let him run behind those big, massive offensive linemen, and they're going to pay Zeke or Dak. Damn it. I keep getting them confused. Too many stupid nicknames. They're going to pay Dak, and it's not going to work. This is going to be the downfall of the Cowboys. Right now, we're seeing the beginning of the end when it comes to this. You can't even call it a dynasty because they haven't won anything yet. But this young core of this team, it's going to get blown up just because of everybody's greed.
Yeah, so I mean, we can't really say it was a dynasty. They were showing promise in what. I know we saw, the Eagles come out as champions there, but it was just a disaster of a division or a conference as well. Yeah, their division there in the East. But so there wasn't anything really that impressive. All this time, people have been talking about this. How is this going to add up? And then when you added in Cooper last year, it's like, how are they going to spend here? And Dallas has always been about those big stars. Even when you go back to what their true dynasty was, it was that big 3. It was Aikman, it was Smith, and it was Irvin. But even those 3, they'll all admit none of that would have been possible without that front line. And that was the hostage that you had in Dallas that drove that team to success. I think Dallas really has to go back to those roots. Find some plug-in players that your offensive line is going to make shine, and then you're going to find success. I don't really think you have to overpay. And again, I mean, could Dallas be one of these teams? I don't think they will because with the Jones, they like to have those big name contract players and all that. They're going to definitely overpay a quarterback. But this almost perfectly seems like a situation where you let this thing ride and go back to another rookie quarterback.
There's no way I would pay Dak Prescott. I mean, I would pay Dak Prescott $15 to $17 million in a heartbeat. Absolutely.
I wouldn't even, when it came down, if I'm building teams, if we're drafting here, I wouldn't even put him in the top, half echelon of quarterbacks inside this league to go with a franchise.
I don't think he fits in the top 2/3. And when we talk about game managers, and he is a game manager to an absolute T. Yeah, he can play. He can go in there and he can do his job and he can do it well as long as he has a lot of really good talent around him. I'd pay him $15 million a year. There ain't no chance in hell I'm paying him 32, 35.
I'm with you.
So let's talk about some more Philly money. God, they got money just coming out of their freaking ears in Philadelphia all of a sudden. Evidently, I need to move to Philadelphia. Another guy got his money in Philly. His name is Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons inks a new deal in Philly. Now that Jimmy Butler is gone the hell out of there, we can afford to pay Ben Simmons 5 years. $170 million. That's a max contract, ladies and gentlemen. Simmons and Embiid, their contracts are now synced up through 2022, 2023 before options start kicking in. The way that the Sixers starting lineup is looking right now, Huckleberry, I like this, and I like this a lot. At center, they've got Joel Embiid, power forward Al Horford, small forward Tobias Harris, shooting guard Josh Richardson, and a point guard Ben Simmons. That's a really, really solid starting lineup, man. When I look at the Eastern Conference right now, I know everybody's super, super high on Milwaukee, but Milwaukee couldn't get it done last year. Giannis was exposed, and Philly's got the size to match up with them. Are the Sixers the favorites in the East?
Well, you got to look, too. Philadelphia, where they were last year, was a buzzer beater away from beating the world champions, from beating the NBA champions.
The craziest buzzer beater in the history of basketball.
Yeah, I mean, they were right there, and they were that close. And they have to kind of regroup like this. And now let's see that they've got this core. And you're talking about the surrounding cast, which is absolutely incredible. What really jumps out to me, though, is to have this core, these two locked up on these deals, synced up where there's nothing that can be disputed between the two of them. And for how long that they've got this thing.
Yeah.
So they've got this thing together for a couple of years. And now they can even plan, when it comes to filling in the pieces to the puzzle around them, even going forward, they know exactly what they have to do. They have set themselves up perfectly, just not for a run next year, but for years to come.
So now the question is, do we actually trust the process? Because for years, Philly was awful. They were awful for years in the post-Iverson era, and they just kept saying, trust the process, and they're bringing in these draft picks, and we're getting all this young talent, we're assembling this team. The problem was it was taking so long that some players were leaving by the time the first contract was up, and then they'd be bringing in the third or fourth guy inside of the process. Huckleberry, this looks like a solid starting lineup to me. Everybody said that they blew up the process when they brought in Jimmy Butler and the process was dead. I don't know, man. I really, really like the makeup of this team if they can keep it together, especially adding Al Horford to it. I think that's a key addition for the Sixers.
Well, let's really look at what with the process and the timing of when they implemented that and what happened in the league. It's not that it blew up and it failed. They had to evolve the process because what happened when they're looking at when you lose Iverson and how the league was structured there. And then you have these super teams that come into play, which completely changes the dynamic of what every franchise is doing. It changes your entire strategy going into each offseason. So they had to make that adjustment. They had to evolve that. And now we've gotten to this point. So you're a Philly fan. I think you got to be very excited about what they've done. And like I said, just not for next year, for years to come. Yeah. Especially that you look at how the East is set up there and how the style of play is there.
Well, and we talked about the possibility of Russell Westbrook ending up in Miami and what that would do to the complexion of the East. Instead, he ends up in Houston. We talked about the Chris Paul contract. We talked about the CP3 contract and how they were two of the worst contracts in the league. We never even considered that they would actually just get flipped for one another. And now we're kind of hearing that the plan in Oklahoma City is to try to move Chris Paul out and just accumulate more draft picks. It's like they're trying to become Philly West right now. I'm not sure where in the world Chris Paul would even fall inside of the league right now, especially with that contract. It's just not a good contract. I don't even think OKC is going to be able to move him. I don't think that there's any kind of a demand for Chris Paul right now. It's going to be fascinating to see how the East shakes out because there's just nobody that really stands out. It's going to be Boston and Brooklyn and Philly and Milwaukee and Toronto all just kind of battling for mediocrity in the East, it feels like.
Well, I think, going back to what we even talked about, how OKC was going to move Durant. We didn't consider just flopping those two contracts, but now they almost got themselves in the same situation. I don't think you're really going to be able to move Paul until mid-season, and hopefully that there is someone out there that desperately needs him. But you're going to have to package in some of these draft picks and all that with him for them to take on a contract like that and eat up some of that salary.
Who would have thought a couple of years ago that you would have to pay somebody to take Chris Paul? It just seems baffling to me.
But just years ago, there was an entire almost shut down the league because it was an uproar of who wanted him. Everybody was fighting for him, and they thought it was some kind of collusion going on.
It's when David Stern bent the Lakers over and gave it to him straight up the ass.
And now we're having the conversation of who would even welcome him in.
Yeah, it's crazy. To wrap things up this week, Huckleberry, let's talk a little bit of baseball. We've got a post-All-Star game pre-trade deadline update. I actually wrote this on Monday night, so these numbers might be just a hair off, but not very damn far. The way the American League looks right now, you got the Yankees on top, the Twins 1 game behind, Astros a game and a half back, Tampa Bay 5 games back, your Indians at 7, and the A's at 7. And then we kind of have Boston just on the outside looking in. Huckleberry, there's going to be a whole lot of madness and trading and just general confusion going on in baseball between now and the end of the month. The trade deadline, I believe, is the 30th at 4 p.m. It's going to be interesting to see what teams are buyers and sellers here, but one of the big names I keep seeing thrown around is Trevor Bauer from Cleveland, and that he is going to be on the trade block, and that, a team like the Yankees or the Twins, maybe the Dodgers or the Braves are going to go out here and get Trevor Bauer. Is Cleveland really selling already?
I think, there is, as we're broadcasting here, I am in Cleveland. I know last time we were on for the show, I was in Cincinnati, but I am here in Cleveland, and I'm talking to some individuals, and that was the big buzz around All-Star Weekend. What teams were talking about. The fans here are, they're worried, very worried that they'll lose one of their great stars, and if it's going to set this team back again. Ever since a couple years ago when they made that tremendous run in the regular season, ripping off 25, 26, 27 games. Your damned Yankees knocked them out of the playoffs. It's been kind of a regression since then. And they were on low-end deals. And, they didn't want to really start paying again. And the fans are worried that that's kind of the movement that they're going towards. But, just looking at the AL, and I know we're going to pop over to the NL here in a minute, which I'm a little bit more excited about because it's so much more hotly contested over there. But again, you've got a handful of teams here. And they're going. You always got that the pack. You got the White Sox who 15 out. They're going to be selling there, but Cleveland at 5, only 5 out in the division. What's Boston? What kind of moves are they going to make? Those are going to be those big questions. If you're going to move someone like Bauer, then you're going to have to bring in 2, 3, 4 players of quality caliber.
Well, I think what it is rather than looking at divisions, I'm kind of looking at the league and kind of trying to gauge how things are going to work out here, right? So you got the Yankees and Twins clearly at the top of the American League. You got the Astros in there, and then you start getting into that second tier, right? You've got Tampa Bay, who's 5 games back, and then you got the Indians at 7 games back.
Well, at current standing, you got Tampa at 6, and the Indians are at 5.
Okay.
So I guess I look at it a little different than you. I'm not looking at this overall league, especially this early. We're right, just in the middle of July.
I'm not looking at wild card already, man.
I'm not looking at that wild card. I'm only 5 games out in my division. I've got a handful of games still with the Twins. They're going to be so important to it. I want my league championship. I don't want to go into a wild card thing. I want to be hosting. I want to be playing in a longer series. That's what I'm eyeing right now as a franchise.
So if they move Bauer, where does that leave Cleveland? Is that just the end of your guys' season if they end up moving Bauer?
At that point, that's what I said. You're going to have to get a lot in return. You're not done here. You're not lost out of the water.
Yeah, and I don't understand why they'd be selling right now.
Well, we don't know. You keep hearing that those are the ultimate enticers when you put out a big name like that for any team to see what are they going to be? What are they attracting? What kind of bait is it pulling in? They might not be sitting serious on any of these moves. They're just kind of interested to see what other teams are, what kind of, you throw that out there sometimes early as you're one of those teams that are on the cusp of going either way. So you kind of show your hand first a little bit and then see what else is around the table.
The other one that I find interesting is those hated Boston Red Sox. They're just on the outside of this thing looking in, Rick. And I think a lot of people are expecting Boston to make some kind of a move here. I'm expecting Boston to be sellers this year. I don't expect Boston to be making any kind of moves unless they're sending players somewhere else. When you've got the Rays in front of you and the Yankees in front of you, I mean, they're looking at third place in the division. I think I'd go ahead and sell and accumulate as many properties as I possibly can right now. I don't think the Red Sox are going to be any kind of a threat.
Currently sitting 10 games out and you're chasing how hot the Yankees are this year, this would change my dynamic a little bit as if I was said, previously said, I'm Cleveland, I'm looking at my division. I'm not that far out. I've got this handful of games there. But with Boston, you're 10 games out of the East. But when you do look at that wild card, you're only 3 games out.
Yeah, but with Tampa and the Yankees, like 3 teams from the East ain't making it.
It happened. It's happened before. Three teams from the NL Central made it last year.
3 teams from the American League East are not going to make the playoffs.
I think they've done it before.
I know they have, but Boston's not making the playoffs. Not this year. Suck on it. Let's talk about the National League. The Dodgers just basically running away with this thing. And then we have everybody else. We've got the Braves at 4.5 back. And then the giant cluster that is the Nationals, the Cubs, both at 12 games back. Cardinals at 14 and Phillies at 14. And then the Brewers on the outside. Like I said, my numbers are a couple days old. Rick, you got updated ones there?
Well, I say, it's not too bad there. As you said, obviously, the odds-on favorite there in the National League, the Dodgers at 63-34. They're sitting with the highest winning percentage at 649. But Atlanta's got 58 wins there. I mean, it's still that's a sizable gap in baseball, but still very achievable. What really interests me here in the NL and what I was talking about, it's so competitive here.
Dude, that Central's crazy.
Well, I was reading a stat. The only team in the National League that's on pace for 90 losses is Miami. So everyone else is kind of within that striking distance there. You look at the Central, we're talking about competitiveness. It doesn't necessarily translate into great baseball, but it is very competitive. You got the Cubs sitting at the top. At the very bottom is my beloved Cincinnati Reds, and they're only 6.5 games out.
Yeah. It's crazy. When I look at the Central, that's the division that's really got me intrigued. I mean, you've got the Cubs there, you've got the Cardinals there, and the Brewers are right on the outside of this thing looking in. That Central division could flip all but upside down between now and October. The other one that I find interesting is in the East with the Phillies and the Nationals. That one just cracks me up because, of course, of the Bryce Harper connection. How much better off are the Phillies than the Nationals picking up, the Nationals' best player, arguably the best player in baseball, and nothing. I mean, that entire thing, what is that, a 10-year contract? You suppose Philly's got buyer's remorse on that deal?
Yeah. Well, I think that was kind of who I had listed here is going to be really interesting. Outside of how we said how competitive the Central is, who's going to be the movers? Who's going to be able, because they all got to be looking at making moves there.
Oh, who's
going to be able to make that big move?
Can Philly even make any moves? That's the question with what they're paying Harper.
But outside, I think that's going to be interesting here. Are they going to hold? Are they going to fold? Can they make a move in Philadelphia? And again, what's Washington? Are they going to hold? Are they strong enough to continue on with what they got to move into the postseason here?
It's going to be fascinating. It's the National League, especially right now, I find incredibly intriguing. And then in the American League, there's the Twins. As a Yankees fan, I'm happy that we're in first place and everything, but I'm watching this Twins team because they're about the closest thing that I have to a local market here. I'm as far away from Minneapolis as I am from Chicago. A lot of Twins fans, and even the Twins fans are like, what the hell's going on? Like, nobody saw this coming from the Minnesota Twins, and people are starting to actually believe in the Minnesota Twins. I'm not. I'm still waiting for them to fall apart. I'm anticipating that the Twins just absolutely fall apart come August. But who saw this run coming from the Minnesota Twins?
I told you. You got to buy into this a couple years with the Twins. It's in their program. It's how they're built. It's suck, and then let's go. We're going to perk up. We're going to go at this thing. I'll tell you what I was talking about the Marlins in that division being the only team with on the pace to lose 90. If you look at the wild card race inside the National League, The Marlins are at the very bottom. They're 12.5 out. Obviously, you take out whoever's leading the divisions right now. That bottom team, just the one just above the Marlins, the New York Mets, they're only 5.5 games out of the wild card.
And we all know how bad the Mets have been. Like,
right.
Historically bad.
Yeah. So the Mets still are, obviously sitting here in the middle of July are within an opportunity. Something could fall their way. If they could hit a hot streak somehow.
Could you imagine if it ended up with the Mets and the Dodgers in the first round of the playoffs? What chance would you give the Mets of winning that series?
30%.
Oh, wow. You go all the way up to 30? I'm going to give them a 2%.
Well, because they're there. They're there, I have to look at the overall standings for the – but on the opposed to that, what I was saying, though, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the AL that are over 10 games out of the wild card alone. I mean, that's the big difference in the competitiveness of these two leagues right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's the West and the East and the NBA. We don't really see that in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean it's across the board in the NFL. The competitiveness in each of the divisions, and they kind of each have their own little personalities when you get to the conferences.
Didn't talk a lot of NFL this week. How's Cleveland feeling? Cleveland getting all excited, ready for the NFL season?
We didn't talk a lot of NFL. The whole first half of the show was NFL.
Well, yeah, but it was 2 teams.
Right now, everybody's kind of just coming off of that hangover from the All-Star game. It was a tremendous event up here. They put on an incredible showing. Great time all around. So people are just kind of getting readjusted here and probably going to switch gears back. The Browns are going to have their spot. But as always, it's going to be really interesting to see the dynamic and the difference between the support for the Browns. And obviously, that's going to be there. But is it going to come anywhere close to the annual in and out of Buckeye football?
It's going to be fascinating to watch. The Cleveland Browns are the most interesting team in football. I'm not sure they're the best team in football. Not sure they're the worst team in football. But they are certainly the most interesting. So that's going to wrap things up for this week's show. Thanks for listening. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. Then find Huckleberry and I this Friday, hittingthemarks.com for an all-new edition of the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast. Boy, do we got some stuff to talk about this week. You can find me across all social media platforms at NotJargo, RBV. How do the peeps, the freaks, and the geeks find you?
Oh, baby, come this weekend with the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am ready to talk some pro wrestling, fired up about some of the events that we've seen unfold over this week, especially the people that are being blinded by what's going on with WWE. Give me a break. I mean, the last Monday and Tuesday, the last 2 days of programming have been absolutely atrocious. I can't believe people are finding any way to remain excited for this thing as we head into SummerSlam, but we'll talk about it then. We've got a lot of Ring of Honor to cover. Our little home base, if you will, where everyone kind of gets on us for being homers. But definitely looking forward to recording this weekend. But until then, keep up with Rick Vickery across all social media platforms at The Real RBV.
Oh, yeah, and if you haven't heard, the G1 Climax is going on. Will Ospreay has been cleared, and tomorrow morning, it's going to be Kota freaking Ibushi versus Will Ospreay. 1-on-1 G1 Climax after what happened at Wrestle Kingdom. I am looking forward to it. We'll talk to you Friday on the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast. For now, we're off like a prom dress. See ya!